I've been working as a nurse for almost 4 years. Not long enough to call myself experienced, but long enough to get used to the smell of antiseptic, the constant hum of machines, and the kind of exhaustion that settles deep into your bones. After too many night shifts, my shift starts at 11 p.m. Hospitals feel different at night. It's not completely silent, but every sound feels stretched out, like it lingers longer than it should. The steady beeping of monitors doesn't stay in the background anymore, it echoes. The wheels of a hospital bed rolling down the hallway sound heavier, even breathing. Sometimes you notice it more than you want to. That night felt normal. To normal. We didn't have many patients, mostly elderly cases. Stable conditions, nothing urgent. No emergencies, no tension. I remember sitting at the nurse's station, exhaling slowly, thinking to myself that it might actually be an easy shift. That was my first mistake. Round 1 a.m., the call log from room 312 turned on. There was an elderly man in that room, somewhere in his late 70s. He had been admitted for mild heart issues. Stable, nothing alarming. I grabbed my clipboard and walked over. The door was already slightly open. He wasn't lying down. He was sitting upright in his bed, back straight, eyes wide open, staring directly at the doorway, but not at me. Behind me. I paused for a second, not out of fear, just something about the way he was looking. It was too focused, too still, like he was tracking something that hadn't moved in a long time. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? I asked. He didn't respond immediately. A few seconds passed. Then slowly, he raised his hand and pointed toward the corner of the room. Do you see him? I turned. There was nothing there, just a chair, empty. I had seen cases like this before. Elderly patients, medication, lack of sleep. Sometimes it caused mild hallucinations. It wasn't unusual. I gave a small, reassuring smile. There's no one there, sir. You should try to get some rest. He didn't smile back. He shook his head slowly, deliberately. He's there. I paused. He's been standing there for a while. I didn't push it further. I checked his vitals, made sure everything looked normal, and prepared to leave. But before I closed the door, I glanced back one more time. The chair was still empty, but for a split second, it felt like it had just shifted, like the cushion had been pressed down and released. I told myself I was imagining it. Round to 15 a.m., I walked past room 312 again. The door was slightly open. I stopped. I clearly remembered closing it earlier, not just closing it, making sure it was shut properly. I pushed it open. The room was dark. The lights were off. That wasn't right. I'm coming in, I said quietly. No response. I reached over and turned on the lights. He was lying on the bed, eyes closed, breathing steady, but something felt wrong. The chair, it wasn't in the corner anymore. It had been moved closer to the bed, not randomly, not slightly. It was positioned, like someone had been sitting there, watching him. I stepped closer. Sir, his eyes open instantly. Not the way someone wakes up. No confusion, no delay, just open. He looked at me. This time, his expression wasn't fearful. It was irritated. You're being too loud. I hesitated. I was just checking. He was sleeping. He interrupted. There was something in his voice now, lower, colder. Don't wake him up. My throat felt dry. Who are you talking about? He didn't answer. He slowly turned his head toward the chair. Can't you see him? By 3 a.m., I couldn't ignore it anymore. I went back to room 312. The door was closed. I tried to open it, it wouldn't budge. Locked from the inside. That wasn't supposed to happen. Patients weren't allowed to lock their doors. I knocked. Sir, can you open the door? No response. I knocked again. Still nothing. Something felt wrong now, not just uneasy, wrong. I called security. When they arrived and forced the door open, everything inside looked completely normal. He was asleep in bed. The chair was back in its original position. Nothing out of place. Security looked at me like I was overthinking it. Probably nothing. One of them said. I nodded, but I didn't believe it. At around 3:40, I checked the hallway cameras. Not because I was curious, because I needed to know I wasn't losing it. The footage showed me walking into the room at 2:15, then leaving a few minutes later. No one else entered. No one else left. But there was one moment, right before I appeared on screen. The door to room 312 opened slowly from the inside. At a time when no one should have been there. At 4 a.m., the alarm from room 312 went off. I ran. The door was already open. The bed was empty. He wasn't there. I stepped inside. He was standing in the corner, the same corner he had pointed to earlier. His face was pale, eyes wide. I told him not to come closer. His voice trembled, but he didn't listen. I took a step forward. Sir, you need to lie down, he whispered. He's behind you. I didn't turn round. I couldn't, but I felt it. Not a sound, not a movement, a presence, close to close, like someone standing just inches behind me. Breathing. Slow. Steady. I took a step back, then another. He kept staring past me. Not vaguely, not like before. He was focused, like he could see something clearly. Then he said, he's smiling. That morning, he was transferred to another department. No explanation. No discussion. His chart had one short note, mild delusion. I tried to forget it. I really did. A week later, I was on another night shift. Round 2 a.m., I walked past room 312. It was empty. No patient. Door closed. But as I passed by, I heard something. Soft. Several. Like someone sitting down on a chair. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Slowly. Steadily. Like nothing happened. But after that night, I never stand with my back exposed for too long in a patient's room. Because there are things you don't need to see to know they're still there. I'm not a doctor. I was just a patient, at least. That's how everyone saw me during the 3 weeks I stayed there. I was admitted because of persistent stomach pain. Nothing serious. The doctors said it was mostly for observation. But since I lived alone, they decided to keep me a few extra days. My room had 2 beds, but for the first 2 days, it was just me. Everything felt normal. Hospitals during the day are always loud. Nurses walking back and forth, patients talking, carts rolling, rubber soles brushing against the floor. But at night, it's different. Not completely silent. Just stretched a cough at the end of the hallway. Sounds like it's right next to you. A door closing lingers a little longer than it should. On the second night, I noticed something small. The door to my room. Never fully closed. I was sure I shut it. But every time I woke up in the middle of the night, it was slightly open. Just enough to see the hallway. I assumed it was the hinges. I didn't think much of it until the second patient arrived. He came in around 4 p.m. on the third day. No family, just two nurses wheeling him in and placing him on the bed. Across from mine, he looked to be in his 60s, thin, pale. But what caught my attention wasn't his appearance, it was his eyes. He looked at things for too long, not curious, just fixed. When the nurses spoke to him, he didn't answer right away. He stared at them first, for a long time. Then he nodded that night. We didn't talk much. I tried making small talk. He gave short answers, but there was something that started to bother me. Every time I spoke, he didn't look at my eyes. He looked at my mouth, like he was studying how I spoke. The first night with him in the room, I didn't sleep well. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. No clear reason, just a feeling, the kind you get when you know someone is watching you. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, only a faint light from the hallway slipped through the gap in the door. I didn't move right away. I looked toward the other bed. He wasn't lying down, he was sitting back straight, head slightly tilted, and he was looking at me, not blinking, not speaking, just watching. I pretended to close my eyes. My heart started beating faster. Didn't know how long he had been watching before I woke up. I didn't know how long he would keep watching, but I didn't dare open my eyes again. The next morning, he acted completely normal. Didn't mention anything, neither did I. I told myself maybe he just couldn't sleep. Maybe I imagined it. But the second night, it happened again. This time, I woke up because of a faint sound, like fabric brushing against something. I opened my eyes. He was sitting again, same position. But this time, he was closer. His bed was about 2 meters away, but it didn't feel like that anymore. I looked down. A corner of his blanket was on my bed. Just a small part, but enough to make my chest tighten. I slowly pulled my blanket back. He didn't react. He just kept staring. The next morning, I told a nurse. She gave a small smile. Maybe he sleepwalks. I nodded, but I didn't believe her, because sleepwalkers don't sit still and stare at you like that. Over the next few days, things became harder to explain. He started talking more, but not to me. He talked to himself, very quietly, like whispering. I couldn't make out full sentences, just fragments. Don't move, not yet. 8. One time I pretended to be asleep. I kept my eyes barely open. He was looking down at his hands, but his lips were moving, like he was having a conversation with someone who wasn't there. But what disturbed me the most was how he watched me during the day, not just looking, tracking when I ate, when I drank, when I moved my hands. His eyes followed everything slowly, precisely, like he was learning. The worst moment happened on the 5th night. I woke up again, but this time, not because of a feeling, because of breathing, not mine, not far away, very close. Right next to my ear. I opened my eyes. He wasn't in his bed. I didn't turn my head immediately. I just looked down. His hand was gripping the edge of my bed. Long fingers, thin, pressing into the fabric. I could feel the weight, like he was leaning toward me then. Slowly, I turned my head. He was there, less than a foot away from my face. Eyes wide open, locked onto mine. No emotion, just focus. His lips moved slightly. I'm almost done. I didn't speak. I didn't scream. I just froze. Then he said, "You're doing very well." A pause. "You don't resist." The next morning I asked to change rooms. They agreed immediately. No questions. That felt strange. Like they already knew. When I left, looked back one last time. He was lying on his bed, but his eyes were open, watching me. Same stare, unblinking. Was discharged 2 days later. Everything slowly went back to normal. I slept better. No more waking up at night. I almost forgot about it, until a week later, I came back for a follow-up. While waiting, I saw a nurse I recognized. I asked her about him, the man in my room last week, the one in the other bed. She went quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Are you sure you had a roommate?" I gave a small laugh. "Yeah, he was around 60. She shook her head. "That room only had you." I didn't respond. I just stood there for a long time then. I asked then, "Who was he?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me, then said something I still remember. "Are you sure?" He was the one in the bed. That night, I went home. I lay down, turned off the lights. The room was quiet. I closed my eyes. After a while, I opened them again. No reason, just a feeling. I didn't turn my head. I just stared at the ceiling. And I noticed something. My breathing wasn't steady. There was another rhythm, slower, closer, not mine. Since then, I never sleep facing the wall anymore, because some things don't need to line a bed to still be right next to you. I worked in the hospital morgue for almost 2 years. My job wasn't complicated, receiving bodies, logging information, placing them into cold storage, and waiting for family members or forensic teams. It sounds disturbing, but after a while, you get used to it. A human body, once it's no longer alive, becomes very still. No movement, no surprises, just wait, cold, silence. I preferred the night shift. Fewer people, less noise, just the steady hum of the refrigeration system, like a constant background rhythm. That night started like any other. Around 11 p.m., I received a new body, male, around 40. Traffic accident, no ID, no family, just an emergency staff member who brought him down. Temporary storage. Forensics will handle it in the morning, he said. I nodded. Nothing unusual. I wheeled the stretcher inside, lifted the body onto the metal table. The fluorescent lights made his skin look even paler than it already was. But something made me pause. His eyes weren't fully closed, just slightly open. I had seen this before. It's not uncommon. I reached out and gently pressed his eyelids down. It wasn't difficult. But when I pulled my hand away, his right eyelid opened again. Just a little. Very slightly, but enough. I stood there for a few seconds, then I tried again. This time, I held it longer, counting in my head. 1, 2, 3. I let go. His eyes stayed closed. I exhaled. Just a reflex. I told myself. I slid the stretcher into compartment number 6. Closed the door. The metal clicked sharply. Everything went back to normal. Or at least, I thought it did. Around 1 a.m. I was sitting at the desk writing reports. The morgue was so quiet you could hear the pen scratching against paper. Then I heard something. Very faint, a soft click. I stopped, listened. Nothing else. Probably metal adjusting to temperature. It happens. I went back to writing. Then it came again. Click. This time, clearer, not distant. From the row of storage drawers. I stood up, walked slowly. The drawers were right in front of me. Everything looked normal. I moved closer, checked each compartment. 1, 2, 3, then number 6. The door wasn't fully closed, just slightly open. I was sure I had shut it. Not just shut it, I checked it. I pulled it open. The body was still there. Same position. But his eyes were open, fully, staring straight up at the ceiling. I didn't like that, but I didn't panic. I'd done this long enough. I pressed his eyelids closed again. This time, they stayed shut. I closed the drawer, more firmly. Pressed it until I heard a clear click. Then I went back to the desk, but after that, I couldn't focus anymore. Around 2 a.m. I heard footsteps, not inside the room, in the hallway. The morgue is isolated. No one really passes by at that hour. I looked at the door. No one. But the footsteps continued. Slow, even, like someone walking past, then stopping right outside. I waited. No knock. No one entered. Just silence, then a faint sound, like someone touching the door handle. It didn't open. It just moved slightly. I stayed still. Didn't go to the door. Didn't call out. After a while, everything went quiet again. Around 2:40, I walked back to the drawers. No clear reason, just a feeling. Compartment 6, slightly open again, this time wider. I pulled it open, the body still there. But something was different. His right arm wasn't resting on his chest anymore. It was down by his side. I remembered clearly. I had placed both hands crossed over his chest. I stood there, watching. No movement. No sound. I took a breath, then reached out and lifted his arm. It was heavy, cold, normal. Placed it back where it belonged, closed the drawer. This time, I locked it. Around 3 a.m., the lights flickered. Not off, just a quick flicker, enough to make the shadows shift. I looked toward the drawers. For a split second, I thought I saw something standing between them. No clear shape, just a darker patch of darkness. When the lights stabilized, it was gone. I wasn't sure what I saw, but I didn't want to check right away. I went back to the desk, didn't write anymore, just listened. The cooling system still hummed. Steady. But beneath it, there was another sound, faint, like breathing, not even. Not mine. Around 3:30, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stood up, walked straight to compartment 6. The lock was still there, unbroken. I opened it. The body was inside. Eyes closed, hands in place. Everything perfect. I stood there longer than usual. Then I noticed something. His chest wasn't completely flat. It rose slightly, very faint, like a breath. I leaned closer, didn't touch, just watched. 1, 2, 3. Nothing. I almost relaxed. Then it happened. Once, very small, His chest lifted, then fell. I stepped back immediately. My heart started pounding. Not panic, recognition. Something wasn't right, not reflex, not mechanical. I looked at his face. His eyes were still closed, but the corner of his mouth had shifted, not a smile, just slightly off, like an expression that didn't belong. I closed the drawer, locked it, didn't check again. I sat at the desk until morning, didn't sleep, didn't leave the room, just sat and waited. In the morning, the forensic team arrived. I handed everything over. Didn't mention anything I saw, just normal documentation. One of them opened compartment 6, pulled the body out, then paused. Huh? I looked up. What? He turned toward me. This guy, his eyes were already open. I didn't answer right away. He continued. That's strange. We usually close them. I walked closer, looked down. His eyes were open, not slightly, fully, staring, straight ahead, unblinking. I quit 2 weeks later, not because I was afraid, at least that's what I told people. I said I needed a change, a different environment. But the truth was, I no longer trusted the stillness in that place. Sometimes I still think about that night. Not the images, the feeling. That moment when you realize something that should never move did. And there's one thing I never told anyone. That night, as I sat at the desk just before dawn, I heard one last sound. Very faint, very close, right behind me. A voice, dry, weak, like it came from a throat that hadn't been used in a long time, not finished. I didn't turn around, and to this day, I still don't know if that was the right decision or the worst one I ever made.